Total expenditures, again, you can see over time, you can see our FTE has gone up. Again, our 6407.5, that's a weighted FTE, by the way. That's not our enrollment K-12. But over time, you can see those expenses in those areas where they've gone up. And over time, you will see those increase, but you can see fluctuations. For instance, our debt service, it was larger in 24-25. The overall payment was smaller in 25-26. It jumps back up in 26-27. And so it's taking that into account as an overall percentage of the budget. All right. Salaries attachment. Oh, oh. We'll pass these down, and then we were a week ago last Friday, as we were putting this together, we were still doing some calculations on the overall salary. And so we'll load this to the website, but for the deadline of getting our attachments uploaded for the board meeting, we had to finish that on Monday and Tuesday of last week. So what I really like about this is we're using real data on salaries. Why is it important? It's important because from an operational perspective, salaries are over 75% of your expense. Okay. And when I say salaries and benefits, on this slide, it includes board paid benefits, all right, like health and dental. It does not include FICA, Medicare, as well as unemployment. That's 7.75%. So you can essentially add 7.75% to these figures if you want a true salary amount. But again, over time, you can see where we're at in terms of number of FTE. Now, I will say that administrators and teachers, that's real solid. Other licensed personnel, again, solid. Classified, it's going to be very close, but that can be dependent upon when you take us, because it's a snapshot, right? You have to pick a day to do this calculation. And there can be a resignation or a hire that comes in the day before or the day after. So it can fluctuate a little bit, but it's generally going to be very close. But you can see the enhancements that we've made over time, and you can also see the impact on the budget. Again, over 75% of that is related to salaries and benefits. All right, last two items, R&R notice. Oh, go back. And the budget notice. If you can switch the attachment. Thank you. So what will appear on September 2nd in the Miami County Republic are these two notices. The first one is the notice of budget hearing. That'll be at 5:45 on the 14th. And then prior to that, we'll do the R&R hearing. So if I scroll down, we'll start with the R&R first. I just want to highlight there at the bottom, exclude the general fund, because it doesn't matter if you wanted to go revenue neutral and general fund, you can't. State says you have to do 20 mils. But the revenue neutral calculation was 43.877 this year. We're proposing 46.699. So we are less than 2.8. I'm sorry, just over 2.822 to be exact, over that revenue neutral calculation. To put it in perspective for you, last year we were over 5 mils above revenue neutral. All right. And so we have closed that gap a little bit in terms of what we are asking for in our budget over the revenue neutral calculation. as we look at our overall budget, again, this is just a highlight of really what I've talked about, but you can see in our operating funds, remember, in general and supplemental general, and really all of these budgeted areas, it's about budget authority. All right. And so you are always estimating a little bit high on the expense side. And so we'll get a legal max in general, supplemental general that will be lower than the 51.38 million in general and the 13.294 in supplemental general. But so once we know that, you don't know that officially until June, but we're always budgeting a little bit high. But if you look at, even with that, our total taxes levied at the bottom, that 39.5 to the 41.8, just over 2.3 million. And remember that our AV did go up almost 7%. And so the overall tax rate that we're asking for of 66.699, again, is just 2.822 mils above that revenue neutral calculation. So especially as you compare it to last year's budget of asking over 5 mils above revenue neutral, we were able to shrink that delta a little bit in terms of what we're asking for. All right. I'm sorry, I've went over my time, but I would be happy to take any questions. Or I can take them on the action item if we want to do that. Because there will be an action item about approving the notice, the budget hearing notice in the R&R. So I'd be happy to take questions at that time if we want to.
Okay, I think everybody's good. So we'll, thank you so much, Mr. Holder. I appreciate all the information. We'll give Rachel a quick minute to catch up just a little bit. So we'll start the meeting at 6:09, 2 minutes. Does that work? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 6:09. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Mrs. Henderson, please click roll.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes, here.
Mr. Chitwood,
Here.
Mrs. Baker,
Here.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet, here. Mr. Hull,
Here.
Mr. Beecham,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. Approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to add an item following the executive session to discuss the yearbook matter. I understand that Dr. Luttrell will be giving a public update, but I would like to have a board discussion. I am requesting this addition because parents and community members have asked for transparency. So I understand that we may need a limited executive session to receive privileged legal advice. However, I believe the yearbook matter, parent concerns, and the board's possible next steps should be discussed in open session. So I make a motion to add that to the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other conversation or discussion? Please click the vote.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
I think the Kansas Student Publications Act makes it pretty clear that this is outside the scope of the board, so my vote is no.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
approved.
Okay, we have we now need approval of the amended agenda. Right?
Yeah, it's all one step.
No, that's all
one. We're good?
So we're good.
Okay. If everybody will rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So here.
Okay, we start every meeting by reading our mission and vision. Our mission is to be a school district that engages students to learn, create, adapt, and succeed in an ever-changing world. And our vision is to maintain small town values and empower each student to achieve world-class success. Up next, business with individuals.
We had 4 cards presented.
Awesome. We'll start first with Whitney Bedland, if you want to come up. And just a reminder to all of our speakers, you'll have 3 minutes and we don't hear any complaints regarding teachers, staff, students in open session. So 3 minutes starts now. Go ahead, Ms. Bedland.
Hi, thank you very much for allowing me to speak this today. My name is Whitney Medlin. My address is 20815 Walker Road here in Spring Hill, Kansas 66083. I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader here at Spring Hill Middle School, and I am talking to you on behalf of the Special Olympics coming to town. I am the coach for our Special Olympic Sharks, go Sharks. And we have the opportunity for Spring Hill to support and show our awesome love of sports by supporting everybody coming out and volunteering for the KC Regional Softball Tournament that's coming to town on September 19th at the Spring Hill Sports Complex, fields behind Sonic. And as your 2025 KC Regional Coach of the Year, I encourage everyone to come out and help volunteer in any which way possible. We have 350 athletes coming anywhere between Wichita and our neighboring school districts and neighboring counties. And we are so excited to have this, but we need the community's help. We have about average 100 volunteers that are needed. And right now we're sitting at 35 to 40. So we are on the map, we're getting there, but we need a little bit more to make it smooth for everybody. It could be umpiring, and when I mean umpiring, it's for slow pitch and coach pitch. Scorebook keepers, those are always important jobs. Grillers, because what best way to eat some softball food for lunches for our athletes other than burgers and dogs. And if anything else, just bring your chairs and cheer for fellow athletes, because our athletes are just as good as everybody else and they need the support to show awesome base softball. And it's a ton of games. We'll have about 10 to 15 slow pitch games and about 20 to 25 coach pitch games in one day. All 4 fields at the sports complex will be utilized from 8 o'clock until we're done softballing. And I think this is great opportunity for everybody. And if you need anything, contact Jason at the rec or myself. And if you have any questions, look on social media, have some flyers that I've got, like a QR code and all that techie link stuff. But if nothing else, enjoy it, come on out, and I'll see you on the softball fields. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, don't run away. Can I ask a question real quick? Because I'm sorry, my pen couldn't move fast enough and I'm not. No, what were the dates again?
September 19th.
September 19th. And so how long would a volunteer commitment be? Like, could somebody volunteer as little as like a single game, and a single game would be about an hour?
1 game, 2 game, all of it, however you want to do it, we are there for everybody to volunteer.
Okay, so you need like another 65 people to come out for like an hour on the 19th between 8 o'clock and the end of the day.
Yeah, about 3.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard it right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Or you can do like me and be out there for 8 hours, John, if you're asking for yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
so much.
actually, it was funny. I was asking for you, Doug.
Mhm. Okay, up next, Kimberly Charity.
Thank you guys for hearing from me again. My name is Kimberly Charity. I have a sophomore at Spring Hill High and a daughter who just graduated. There are so many great things our school district does and continues to excel at that I don't want you to discount my appreciation to the staff and the board for everything you continue to do for my family. The last meeting, I shared my concerns about the pronoun usage and the default of they, them, or what it seems to be the default in the last 4 years. Tonight, my first request, I think, was already granted. It was to put an action item on the agenda, which I appreciate, for you guys to publicly discuss it. I'm just asking for a policy that respects individual students. If a student requests they, them, to respect that. If a student requests he, him, or she, her, to respect that. But I would also like to see the he, she used as a general default while allowing every student to request the pronoun that accurately represents them. I did submit the core request seeking 4 years of records concerning the development, but I would also like and would love to also see a reprint to those parents requesting it. I've learned that I cannot control what you guys decide will be the policy, but I can control my own response. If the policy changes, I will gladly purchase my son's yearbook. If it remains unchanged, I will not purchase another yearbook under the they, them, or student-led policy. And I will encourage families who share these concerns to make a different purchasing decision if the policy defaults to a they, them usage. Finally, I hope the board gets answers to 3 questions. First, who originally proposed and approved the they, them as a default, if it was a default, and why? Second, was this independently chosen by students each year, or was it influenced or required by an advisor, administration, or what I've learned, the style guide? I'm not really sure what the style guide is, but I included that in there. And third, most importantly, when a student specifically requests she, her, or he, him, why should an editorial policy override that student's own requests? I'm not here to assign motives. I'm asking for answers, transparency, and formal consideration of this policy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And up next, Joanna Meek.
My name is Joanna Meek, and I live at 19754 Barstow Street in Spring Hill, Kansas. Last spring, I reached out to the publications team, and I said that last year, for some reason, when my daughter was mentioned in quotes in the yearbook, she is referred to in the plural. She said she didn't tell anyone to do this and didn't know why she was referred to this way. With it being her senior year, I did not want this new feature. She told me she got photos taken to be done this way. Please pass this on to whoever is in charge of interviewing students for quotes. I noticed it happened to several other kids too, who I know would not want to be featured with incorrect grammar. Maybe instead of putting everyone in plural, they can just simply ask how they want to be quoted. I was sent a response that several years ago, they moved to a gender neutral policy outlined in their staff public manual in order to improve consistency and reduce errors and typos. I also sent another email. Can I request that my kids be quoted or featured in their correct pronouns, and who had a voice in this policy? I said that I objected and I do not want my daughter's senior feature to be incorrectly gendered in the plural. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a typo. and it sounds grammatically incorrect. It would be better to teach these journalism students to actually ask their subject how they want to be featured in the piece they are doing. This would avoid errors and will avoid alienating 98% or more of the student population who does not want to be featured in an incorrect way. I got a response that they appreciate the suggestion that their reporters ask each source for their preferred gender, but it simply isn't feasible considering the size of the student body, and that they can't issue a survey to ask students this information as it is prohibited by the state. I disagree with that. If they are actually doing true journalism, why can't they just do their due diligence and ask how they want to be featured? Or, as she previously stated, have that be the standard. And then if they ask for it, then give them that. That's all I was asking at that time. And I was also met with that maybe they will consider a request-based pronoun policy, much like they have with preferred names. So if a student says, well, I go by this name, then they are going to put that name in the yearbook. Why can't it be the same for their pronouns? Let's see, I'm certain that if it were the other way around, it would be done in a heartbeat. And thus, that's where we are today and what has led to this issue. All I want is the same consideration for those that do not want this done. All I wanted was for her feature to be correct for her and for her references to be correct.
Thank you so much. And last for the night, Aaron Leonard.
Good evening. Okay. I'm Aaron Leonard. I'm Abigail Leonard's father. Thank you for hearing us out tonight. Spring Hill's they them policy forces students to use language against their will. It erases biological identity and personal choice while creating division. In 2023, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there was a case very similar in Ohio where the Sixth Court ruled that in the Olentangy case that schools can't compel students to use specific pronouns. We're simply asking you to direct the publication staff to allow traditional pronouns and respect my daughter's identity. There is legal precedent otherwise, but we do want to see change. That's all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Because we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the approval of minutes, the personnel report, the clerk's report, the FY26 clerk's report final, the treasurer's report, payroll and claims, renewal of the memorandum of understanding with Sunflower House, and finally, lesson picks license renewal.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented and read.
Thank you so much. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other conversation or questions? Mrs. Henderson, please collect the vote.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
Mr. Hole,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
approved.
Great, thank you. And good news, recognitions and announcements. Mr. Peavy.
Hey, good evening, everybody. We've had a fantastic start to our school year here last week, and we're excited in the meetings going ahead to start being able to recognize some of the great things that are happening during the 26-27 school year. But that said, we do have one group here that wants to come back and talk to the board about the very cool things they did during the summer. So with that said, I'd like to invite Miss Elsie and the Spring Hill High School robotics team back to the mic.
Hello, thank you for having us again. My name is Rachel Elsey. I teach engineering and robotics at Spring Hill High School. I have a few of my students here, Logan Engel, Reese Stubbs, and Cameron Geeson, who went with us to Chicago, as well as my other coach, Mr. David Provost. We went to Chicago. We were invited to the Chicago Robotics Invitational. We were one of 38 teams. And we were there for about 5 days. The event itself took place a Saturday and a Sunday. And we met teams from all over the world. Israel, our pit neighbors were Taiwan, to the next to us. And then across from us, we had Romania. There was Brazil, Greece, Uzbekistan. Where else? I'm missing a few. There were several others, as well as all over the United States. So this was our robot. We did a complete redesign of this robot from what we went to state with. And I can have Reese and Logan, if they want to speak more about our changes, they can.
So I'm Logan Engel. I led programming along with Reese Stubbs here on this robot. And also I worked a little bit on building. So what we did with this robot is we kind of took this opportunity because this tournament does not affect our qualifications. So we took it more as an experiment tournament. We completely rebuilt our robot from the ground up, and we experimented with a turret system where it could track the goal from anywhere on the field, which was a lot of fun to build and put together. And Reese can talk about the programming process of the autos and how he put all of that together.
Hi there. So a big part of the game that we've been competing in is going into an autonomous phase. So in that phase, we are having the robot do and all of its operations on its own without any driver input. And so a lot of this tournament was also trying to get that down. At state, we had pretty good autos, but for Chicago, the rules had changed, and there was a lot of different things that we could do and a lot of different ways that we could help out our alliance partners. And so part of our goal for Chicago was also to expand upon writing autos in a way that we can use for future years to help benefit the program, and in ways that can help out any alliance teammates. So part of this was we used libraries that will help us create automated autonomous programs. And so it makes it easier for in future years us to create them. And it also helps create adaptability by letting us have more choices in how it's going to function. As well as in autonomous, it helps us create more of a unified autonomous. Instead of having different routes that can behave entirely different, we centralized it all so that it can have a little more consistency over having to write them all individually each time. I'm going to hand off for the teleop programming to Logan Engel.
So a big focus of all the code that we did this season was repeatability, because at the end of the day, we as high school students are on this team for 4 years. And at the end of those 4 years, we have to be able to hand it off to a younger student who can continue that code and continue all the work we put into the season so that our box team can continue prospering as well as it has done the previous season. So that's a focus we worked on a lot, where we completely rebuilt the entire code base from scratch from our previous season to make it much more readable and much more approachable for new programmers, which is a major focus we're looking at this season, is how can we form a robotics team to work that way. And one way we looked at this was each system of the robot was completely separate from each other one. For example, the turret, the code that works on how the turret knows nothing about how the drivetrain works. So if you are a new programmer, you can walk in and you can see a file that accepts the turret, and you can read through that, and you don't have to look at all these other files to get a complete picture of how the entire thing works, which we think will let our program not only have a better code base to do better in competition, but also let our program continue growing and be as successful as it was this year.
So with our successes coming into the season, like he said, we went into this brand new. Going into Chicago, we did have a day where we got to go and sightsee. If you want to move, we got to go to the Field Museum, and of course we had to have pizza. The Field Museum had their Pokemon exhibit, and several of the students found out, and so they're like, we have to go. And so we got to go to the Pokemon. We got to see Sue the T-Rex, and of course eat pizza and catch more Pokemon. Lots of really great times were had. They got to explore Egypt, dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, ancient mammals, all the things. And of course, we had to get all the pictures. So it was a great time. And then that Friday night, after doing the Field Museum, we got to go and meet the other teams. This is the field that was recreated. So again, it was similar to what we had played before, but also completely different. Not just 4 robots in a 12x12 arena, but we had 6. And with additional times or different places to score. We ran into a lot of mechanical issues, unfortunately, going in, but the team did a really great job of talking and trying to problem solve, working with the mentors that came with us, and really coming together and taking it step by step and trying to fix what was going on. They also were able to go and look at other teams' pit areas or like their presentation areas. And so these were some of the other ones that we were able to go and see. Several of them had very similar styles to what we had. Some of them were very, very simple and obviously had done very well within their leagues and at their state competitions. And a lot of them gave really great ideas for us for this upcoming season, as well as our team problem solving and listening to each other and kind of working through, okay, this is what happened and now this is what we want to do for this next season. So we have kickoff coming up on September 12th is when we find out the brand new game and what that looks like and what our season will kind of get to be going forward. So we're very, very excited and looking forward to another great season.
Great. Thank you guys so much.
Hey, gang. Oh. Yes, I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but as we continue to grow as a district, what do you wish we were doing at the middle school level to help you prepare to come into the robotics team, right? Because we're not, and I'm not prescribing anything today, but what are the foundational things that you wish kids came in having to be a good team member?
So a big part of what we can do at the middle school level to help out is like our competitions where we compete in what's called the First Tech Challenge. There is a middle school level variant of it called the VEX Robotics tournaments. And those are going to be a little bit of a lower leveled course in competition. They're not going to be as sophisticated or as high in funding needed, but they will help provide students who come in with a better understanding of how robots function and how we can build stuff, as well as it can help people who maybe just want to get into engineering in the basis and not have anything to do with robotics. It can help them have a course where instead of making trebuchets and stuff, they are actually getting to compete and use their skills in ways that they would like.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. That was my question. Nothing scary.
I would agree that maybe having some sort of first Lego League or whatever they end up changing into would be a really great opportunity for the middle school. Expanding the automation and robotics is what 8th graders are able to have. And so the freshmen that I currently have in Intro to Engineering are just itching to get into robotics. They see the empty field and they're like, and they see the robot that we have and they're like, we want to come and help. And so trying to find a path for them, since they have to take Intro to Engineering first before they can join our team at the classroom level. But I think expanding the engineering classes and Project Lead the Way classes into middle school, Project Lead the Way Gateway has amazing courses from the engineering pathway to computer science and biomedical. And I taught a lot of them in previous positions, and they're really great for the middle school.
Awesome. Are we going to end up with 2 teams again this year, or have we grown to 3 yet?
We still have 2. So these gentlemen are in our upper level capstone level, which is, since so many of them were moving up anyways, they are the Bronco Bots. And so Bronco Bites is that first level robotics course. And so it's all brand new. All of them have seen what's going on within the classroom this last year, but they didn't really get a chance to partake. And now they're basically another rookie team. So they're all brand new. So we're going through the basics right now, as well as kind of going through some foundational stuff for them. But they are chomping at the bit, wanting to get building. They want to tear apart the old bot. And I'm like, you just gotta wait just few more days. So I can show
a few more days, the task comes out, the competition.
September 12th on that Saturday is when that comes out. So we are going to, I'll have both teams come in. I've invited a few other teams to kind of kick it off with us. And we'll be able to get the field and everything then. So yes, we're really excited.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Sure.
Great year.
Extra ones, you want one? Okay, discussion items 26-27 building needs assessment. Dr. Robinson.
So I believe this is year 5 of the state of Kansas requiring school districts to do a building needs assessment to assess the academic needs of each learning center within their system. I'm going to share real high level and then answer any questions that you might have. Really, it asks for us to do a number of things. It asks for us to look at state assessment results. I would remind you that the board did that in October. You'll also, giving you a commercial for the upcoming meeting, Mrs. Zook and her team will be presenting first round of our 25-26 data at the September meeting. But the biggest part of this is identifying barriers that our school teams have identified that are keeping students from scoring proficient on state assessments. So I will hit on a few of them that they mentioned. You will see a trend here. Go down to page. You're going to see a trend. Our academic data, as you'll hear at the next meeting, is still very, very high, and our students are doing really well. But kind of and this is second or third year that what we've really seen is our schools identifying a need for more services for students in special education, students with complex language and behavior needs, students who English is not their first language, which we're seeing a more diverse group joining our school district, which has been really positive, especially at the elementary level, seeing how our schools have embraced that. But it does bring some different needs, both from a staffing standpoint, a material standpoint, and a programming standpoint. You'll also notice on here that they identified a need to really focus more on recruiting and retaining those individuals. But really, if you look at it from a funding standpoint, all of our schools identified the lack of special education funding at the state level as being a hindrance to them having what their students need. They've noted changes in needs of our students. Facility capacity came up, but it was predominantly at the high school level. I think hearing the robotics team come is a good example of what they're talking about. Their new space that we're building will allow them to do some real creative things from a programming standpoint. But as we're trying to get out ahead of some of those things, but until we get the facilities built and students in them, that is a barrier to being able to provide our students what they truly need. You're also seeing them identify additional resources for Tier 2. Again, if you go back to our academic data being so high, to continue to move students from level 1 and level 2 into 3 and 4, it's really going to be having strong intervention support, strong special education programming to be able to move those students. Our core instruction is really good across the district. And the other piece that came up in a few places, which was new this year, was a need at multiple buildings to continue to build stronger relationships with parents, both from a chronic absenteeism standpoint, which you're going to see, I think this year, even at the state level, then put as far as the funding formula is developed, putting more emphasis on. But also, as we're recommending students for intervention, we're seeing some pushback. So it's a piece of us doing a better job of explaining what that would look like and how students would benefit. And to be able to get support from families to have their students engage in intervention. So we've identified a handful of things that we believe should be budgeting priorities. None of these, I think, will surprise you. Staffing and personnel continues to be priority one. And that's not necessarily that in every aspect we need more, but we know that high quality instruction begins with having good instructors in the classroom. Specifically, our buildings identified special education, ELL, at-risk intervention, things like that as being priority places to continue to explore staffing. Quality instruction, instructional materials, and this is something I feel very confident that teaching and learning will continue to stay out in front of, and will recommend materials that align with state standards, but also address needs throughout our system. Continuing to invest in professional development. Specifically this time around, though, they added a need to make sure that we're incorporating paraprofessionals and classified staff into professional development when it's appropriate, which is something our team will continue to look at. And then continuing to look at facilities enhancements to improve the quality of instruction, but also the opportunities that are available to expand programming for students. That's a very high level overview of the needs assessments. You can also on that document link to each individual building's needs assessment, but this will be a piece that Nathan will incorporate into the budget hearing and into the budget as you develop it for the next meeting. But what questions can I answer for you?
Dr. Holmes, mine's actually a request. You don't know what's missing until it's gone. We moved to having all of our meetings here, and this conversation just made me realize I was always asking about MTSS percentages. So when that comes to us, could you give us an idea of, we're saying MTSS needs are trending up.
Yeah.
House for mouse kind of, and I don't need it right now, but
I'll look at that, but we'll make sure that that's a part of our
could we get that data?
update
Is
coming
that
up.
reasonable?
Yeah. Oh, it should be.
Yeah.
That should be something we can pull our data from FastBridge and other things.
That's all I got.
Anything else?
Yeah, on the chronic absenteeism, that's a tough word. How does that differ from truancy?
So chronic absenteeism doesn't necessarily mean that absences are unexcused. There's a lot of data that suggests missing 10 or more days throughout the school year can have an impact on your learning. I think we're going to see the state of Kansas it'll be interesting to see what they do with the whole funding formula, but I do expect that attendance piece to be a part of it. Early discussions that they've had, that's been an important piece. But we have students who, and some for very positive reasons, miss a large amount of school, and trying to still make sure that we're providing them what they need and yet working with families, I think is important. But that's probably the biggest difference is you can be absent for an excessive amount of time and yet it still be excused absences based on why you're missing.
Okay, thank you.
I have not really a question, but an observation. So when we're talking about the needs of special education and why we need more of it, my observation is that the actual salary average is 79,542, but then for 2026 to 2027, it goes down. And so I'm just curious as to if we're trying to get more individuals in for this type of thing, wouldn't it be feasible to pay them more or like increase it? Because I just don't understand why we go from actual to then a potential decrease that would not make me want to work here.
So I'd have to go back and look. It's probably more based on the experience of people we had those different years. Because our special education staff, with the exception of contract services, are still paid on the master agreement. So it's going to be based on years of experience and level of education, where they're placed. So that's something we could take to the negotiating table and talk through. The other piece that may be bringing it down a little bit, and I have to dig into it, so I'm making up stuff here, but we also saw our paraprofessional numbers come back up slightly last year. So I don't know what all is in that number. I'd have to work with Nathan to take a better look at it. But some of that could be a positive too, if we're seeing more paraprofessionals come back. We had a pretty significant gap there coming out of 2020, 2021 that we've been slowly building back to, but obviously they're going to come in at a lower rate than your certified teacher, but we could take a better look at it and I could probably give you a better answer.
Okay, thank you.
I had one more. Assuming Sheila isn't part of this because they don't do standardized.
Yeah, so part of why they're not here is because they're still listed under Spring Hill Elementary. So it requires a needs assessment. Plus, it's a little bit tricky because they don't take state assessments in the same way. Although I would tell you, Dr. Luttrell and I had the opportunity to sit down with Mrs. Fanning and talk through their data in June. And I think that would be a good opportunity down the road for Mrs. Fanning to give an update. Their data is pretty impressive, and she's been doing some correlations to the students that go through that program. What does it look like when they enter kindergarten? And I think some of that for the board to know that, hey, when you're investing in early childhood education, are we getting out the outcomes that we want? It's a positive investment. We've seen the data, and I think it would be something that would be worth sharing with the board at some point down the road.
100%.
But that's why they're not incorporated in.
Yep, makes sense.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thanks, Dr. Remington. Okay, discussion item number 2, board member district boundaries.
Another fun topic. The Board of Education held a work session at the end of June and discussed Board of Education district boundaries for representation. Now, why they had to do that is because state statute in Kansas pretty much mandates that whatever district format you have for representation, and ours is basically three districts with 2 representatives each and 1 at large. The three districts with each with 2, the statute says you have to strive for a population by the most recent census that you have on hand, that the population in each district should be within plus or minus 5% of what your current population is versus what the population was when that boundary was set. Now, as you know, we have experienced a lot of growth for many years. And I believe the last time that we actually redistrict in terms of boundaries was about 15 years ago, at least around probably about 2008 is what we could find. So we looked at the data in June. We worked with the demographer to make sure we looked at all of our districts and the population and decided, again, that we were, for the most part, there were some that were out of whack. And so the demographer presented essentially 4 scenarios for the board to consider that would make sure that they were in compliance with the statute. And those 4 were discussed in depth. And of course, anytime you change boundaries, there are a lot of dominoes that can come into play. Even though the one unique thing about our board boundaries and the setup that we have is that every patron in the district gets to vote for every representative in terms of each district. It's not just if you live in District 1 or District 2 that you only get to vote for that particular, you get to vote for all of them. So long story short, at that workshop session, it was kind of an agreement, consensus among the board informally, that after looking at the scenarios of the 4, there was an option there that was presented, which was option 1, that basically would shuffle the boundaries of each district a little bit, keep the population within that 5% variance, and also keep all of the current board members within their current district in which they represent. And so what I wanted to do tonight was just kind of, again, let everybody know that, kind of see if you're still in agreement with that, because if you are, we need to take the next step, and I need to then have a formal resolution prepared that we would bring back to the board here in our, in our September meeting, that would actually state that we were going to be redoing the boundaries, what they would be. And then we would also have a legal definition that would outline specifically by, I want to say street, but by vicinity, as to what each district would represent in terms of addresses in that. And then y'all could look at that as discussion item, look at the resolution, see the legal piece, and then discuss it. And then we would bring that back at the October meeting for a formal action item, because once it's approved, we have to then submit that to the proper authorities in Johnston and Miami counties so that they can prepare the proper maps and integrate it with their systems, so that whenever we have the next election for Board of Education filing, which would be the next election, we don't have one this November, it would be in November of 27. That filing will begin early in 27. And so we would want to have everything in place so that there isn't any confusion when that would come. So tonight, I just need to kind of, if we're still at that consensus of what was arrived at, and if you're ready for me to then give the directive to our legal team to allow them to do the resolution and draw up the boundaries, and that we would bring back for discussion at the September meeting and then approval in October.
Dr. Luttrell, thank you. Are we sure it was one or not? What was the difference between the A's and then just the numbers by themselves? I'm having a hard time recalling the difference on that. I know it was one. I just don't remember if it was 1A or 1.
There
And
was,
what the difference
yeah,
was
no,
there.
he gave one example was, he gave 1, 2, 3, 4, then he gave a 1A, 2A, 3.
Right.
The one basically focused on basically what the populations of each district would be. And the other one focused on essentially how many board members would be displaced, if any.
No, wasn't one based on,
Yeah, you're going off, the census versus
Yeah,
the estimate ones.
that's what it was.
And I still would prefer going off the census, but there was,
The one.
what would be, which would be one.
Oh.
1A is the estimate one that there seemed to be consensus around, and I'd certainly support it as well.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah,
what
I knew where you were going.
Okay, so 1A is based on the census. No,
No,
one is based on the census from what year?
2020.
2020.
2020.
And there's a formula, correct me where I'm wrong, Ted, there's a formula that they use to extrapolate the growth, project the growth. And then 1A, I didn't even remember, I didn't remember it either. I'm glad Ted did. 1A is the county has a similar estimating mechanism for coming to a population number. So
Like-
Johnson County.
I think it was also because of our growth. We always have RSP coming in and giving us our growth data.
Yeah.
So we have that data to go off of. If we want to go with one, which was the census data, we're already
Census
off.
consistent.
Right.
We've already grown so much that data puts us within the.
Right, but I think I remember now, the 1A is what we had talked about because it was gonna get us closer to the 2030
2030.
census, so that we wouldn't have to make as much of an adjustment at that time, even though we will need to make an adjustment, but it won't be as much as we're doing now.
Well, this was the least amount of change since we are doing it off census.
Right.
To get us to 2030 where we're going to have more growth and we'll probably be off again. But then we probably won't have the luxury of keeping every board member in the district. Because remember, they drew a pretty weird little trail to make sure that Autumn stayed. But they did
Yeah.
some things to make sure we all stayed put. But
Right.
yeah, so it'll just at least buy us the time to get us to the next census where we'll
Yeah.
probably need to do this again.
Yeah, where we needed to go again. And just to reiterate what Dr. Luttrell said, which is the entire electorate of the entirety of these 71 square miles votes for every board seat.
Yeah,
So, and I politically, it doesn't matter is where my conclusion goes. So if the people listening at home, if you somehow feel differently in that every board seat needs to be only voted on by the district it represents, now's the time to write your emails and come speak in the next meeting, because this is going to be it. Or
Till
look like
2030,
it's going
till 2031.
until 2030. Well, 31 once the data comes out.
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so we still on agreement to move forward? Still move forward?
Yeah,
Consensus?
I still am good with 1A.
Okay.
Yep.
Good deal. That's all I had on that topic.
Wait, you said 1A.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's good with 1A, just making sure that's what we just.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break before we.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll be back at 7:01. to your places.
Red tape.
I know, that's you.
No, it's not. Sorry.
Chinese fire drill. Okay. Notice of the budget hearing and R&R hearing for September 14th. Mr. Holder again.
Thank you again. I apologize for going over my 30 minutes to start, but we had reached the point where I'm happy to take any questions and have any discussion that you'd like to have.
That's awesome. I'm kicking right off, sorry. On your, the supplemental salary sheet that you handed out, one of the questions I have, we have to contract a number of services for positions we can't fill. So our actual operational expenditure on people is larger. Do you have a concept of how much larger, our contract spend is on labor? How much bigger this number would be?
I'd have to dig, but it's going to be, it would be safely over $1 million that we're
Okay.
contracting. Yeah.
Okay. So that was one
And
question.
that typically falls either in supplemental general fund 8, or can fall. And some of it does, depending on if you need to move any of it in capital outlay.
Yeah, just kind of
It can
going,
fall in either area.
yeah, kind of going to, the comment on what we're spending on sped. We're actually even spending even more on the people in the buildings.
And to Mr. Chitwood's point, just to be clear, that does not show up as a salary because that's a purchase service that we're paying a company for. So yeah, it would not be part of this salary.
Yeah, it's not. Where I'm going with this, I'm just trying to give the general public a feeling it's actually, the number's even higher on what we spend on people. We end up having to contract a lot. One of the things moving forward, and, this is one of the, I guess, I must have missed it in the meeting at the time because I knew we were going to have to refund as part of the $60 million issuance. And we've talked about this subsequent, which is, no, we're going to have to reissue. And, when it comes to approving the budget, from my seat, one of my concerns is treasury rates have kind of done nothing but go up. So, the punchline is the era of free money is over. We incurred a considerable amount of debt over the last 10 years that got us to that, 39.7% debt ratio. And we obviously will still continue to grow into that number. But I get nervous because it was 43, it's down to 39. I get nervous that ratio is not shrinking a little faster. And, kind of what we can do or what the budgetary outlook is to offset that. And so I'll use, for example, continuing to assess the 8 mills on capital outlay. We already know that we have on the books, I don't know, what was it, 25, 30 million of new roofs and parking lots and things that are coming about. And when you do the numbers, we got more in future liabilities than we have money coming in. And so kind of where I'm getting to is I don't see a world where we can continue to refund and continue to issue new debt. I don't see us growing into that. And I'm not expecting you to answer that right now. I just wanted to, when we get to the budget hearing, have you prepared to go, oh no, you're all wet. This is how we're going to go into that number and how we're going to manage the debt we have and our future liabilities. Cause that's why I'm always saying, okay, are these fund balances growing? Right. So I just want to let you know where my brain is at. Does any of that make any sense, or does it just sound like the rantings of a madman?
Can I just add?
Yeah, go for
one
it.
thing to that? And you and I have had this conversation. Do keep in mind, and maybe you weren't aware of this, but our old debt still gets state assistance, and refunding doesn't negate that. So you refund old debt and you still get state assistance from it. So it can be advantageous to the district to continue to do that as well. So it's not purely a case, I mean, it's always a case of wanting to see what the rates are. Obviously, lower is always better, but it can be a case of having that and being able to pay some of the newer debt sooner. It just makes sense financially. So.
Well, that's one of the things where I think there, and not doubting in any way, I think there's a certain.
It could change. I mean, it could change next year.
It could change.
Historically been grandfathered in, but it could change.
I think there's a mechanism where it can be, I think there's a gotcha. And I know everybody's doing the right things and I believe you. I get nervous that number isn't dropping faster and looking at our future liabilities. So I hear you.
Anything else for Mr. Holder? Okay, I think that'll do it. Thank you so much. Board work calendar.
That's an
Oh.
item.
Sorry. Oh, it's an action item. Sorry,
I'm gonna move to approve the publishing of the revenue neutral rate as presented by Mr. Holder
Did you say budget hearing too?
in budget hearing.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other conversation or question? Okay, Mrs. Henderson, please collect the vote.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
approved.
Great. Okay, now we'll go to the board work calendar.
My fault.
No, that was my fault. I can read. Everything is good with the board work calendar. We have our September meeting filling up pretty good, and then a work session in September. I don't think there's anything more to go through there for tonight. Superintendent's report. Let's do this.
Yes, as everyone knows, the 26-27 school year is underway. We actually have 6 full days now in the books completed. My own observation, I have been out in all the buildings and I think it's been a very good start. We have had some wrinkles as always with things like transportation. The wrinkles we continue to encounter though are being ironed out. We appreciate everyone's patience and help as we continue to go forward. It is my hope that by our next meeting, I think, which is September 14th, that I'll be able to provide a pretty almost accurate enrollment report. Right now, this time of year, we have enrollment numbers. We are taking attendance. We're tracking enrollment, but it's still very fluid because we still have some students that are coming in. We still get records every day, requests on students that have transferred out. Their school year is starting up. So it's really pretty fluid, but by the 14th, I should kind of have a pretty accurate estimate of where we're going to wind up, with that. I do know that the first day, all of our families that I encountered that we saw, as well as our students, they all were in great spirits that first morning. It's always a nice feeling. Everybody's and has a lot of energy. I know this year we had a KMBC live from Prairie Creek, did several segments starting from 5:30 on to 9 a.m. We had some of our area newspapers that were also out doing photos at some of our buildings. So again, it's been a great start. And the heat weather overall has cooperated. And then we will also have a report on this in a future meeting. But thus far, the one thing that was on most everybody's mind, and I even commented to parents when I see them, is so far, knock on wood, our parents and our students and our staff have all pretty much embraced the cell phone statute. And while we've confiscated a few here and there but it has not been a battle, and we hope that it stays that way. But that is because, again, the work and the collaborative effort that it takes all of us to do to make sure that we do what is best. And it's really neat. I know when I was out last week in the buildings, again, knock on wood, I did not even see a cell phone out, students. So again, great things going on and good start to the school year. My next item that I have, I know we're going to talk about this later tonight after executive session, that I did want to address, and the reason it got placed here in this agenda because is when we try to finalize our agenda a week out from the meeting, and so we didn't have all this information at the time we had to publish last week's agenda. But I did want to address that, I do know there's been a lot of attention in recent weeks, as was evident, with the public comment that involves the manner in what students, were referred to and have been referred to in our student publications, most notably the annual yearbook. And as we know in recent years, that does fall under, with student publication and the editors and them, and as long as the instructor, their style guide, which is more of a manual that they use to kind of guide how they're going to go about writing and producing, has called for the use of they and them when referring to students. That taken into account some of the feedback that we've heard, all the feedback that we've heard, that is something that is evaluated every year. And as this year with our school year underway for the 26-27 school year and all the different publications we'll have, this year's publication staff, the editors, along with, the instructor, they have reviewed the manual like they do every year. They've listened to the feedback that has been shared and assessed. And they've, again, have just, as of last week, finalized what is going to be their manual moving forward. And under the updated guide that they will use, students will be referred to in any publication that using the gender designation that is reflected in the district's official student information system. For us, that's known as Skyward. And that information is established. And it's also, if there's a change to it, it has to be done and is made through the parent or the guardian process. And in writing, student journalists, can also and may also use the student's last name when appropriate, when it's an article. But again, we do appreciate, I've listened to all the feedback. It's very much respected on both sides. And I do appreciate, the thoughtful work that our student journalists, and advisor have taken as they begin a new school year to definitely try and make sure that we're being representative of all of our students, all of our patrons. And again, the style guide that is used is definitely a document we want to be transparent about. It is on the website. And actually, if you go to the board meeting tonight in Assembly, I've actually got a direct link to it where it'll take you right to that you can walk through what those guidelines are. But I wanted to, again, just address that from terms of, that's one area. I know that was asked earlier. For this school year moving forward, will be the they, them will not be utilized. We will be utilizing, what's in the official Skyward for their gender. So that's my superintendent's report at this time.
Great. Thank you so much. We need an executive session for non-elected personnel.
Madam President, I'm going to move the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel to protect the privacy interest of unidentifiable individuals. Under COME, those to be in session include the Board of Education members and superintendent of schools and other administrators as requested. The executive session is begin at 7:20 with the open meeting resuming at 7:50?
Yeah.
7:50 at this place.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or conversation? Okay, Mrs. Henderson, please collect the vote.
A little bit of everything, but I'm
I can't do some.
She's collecting the vote.
Mr. Hole,
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
approved.
Madam President, I move that we extended this executive session for 10 minutes with the meeting commencing at 8 PM in this place.
I'll second.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
approved.
sessions. Do I have to end the other executive session?
You just need to open the meeting back up and then
Okay.
motion.
Are we back open? Okay, the meeting's back. And now we need a motion to go into executive session.
Madam President, I move that the board go into executive session to consult with the board's attorney regarding matters that would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to COMA to discuss potential legal claims related to the yearbook matter for purposes of preserving attorney-client privilege. Those to be in session include the Board of Education members and council. The executive session will begin at
And Mr.
8:00.
Cost, right?
8:00.
Did you see other administrators as
No,
requested?
I did not.
She did.
8:03.
But I think we need to add
8:02,
and Mr. Cost.
with the opening meeting resuming at, how long is it gonna take? 8:20 at this place.
Can we add and Mr. Cost?
I think you can make a motion to change my motion.
Do I amend her motion?
We've never had this issue before. Yes, we'll make an amendment to your motion.
Okay, I'll amend the motion to add Mr. Cost as well.
Okay. Okay.
So we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second.
Okay, Mr. Hall,
Go with somebody else real quick. Go.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
No,
Which motion?
I'm sorry, yeah, he didn't catch the motion. Rachel, can you catch it?
this is the motion to go into executive session for attorney-client privilege.
Yes. Second, I want
I
it.
agreed second, yes. Okay.
Yes.
So you-
Yeah, and I'm,
yes.
yeah, because of the addition of, I'm gonna have to vote no. And it's simply because I was under the understanding that it was gonna be client attorney privilege. And so I'm gonna recuse myself from the meeting if it's gonna include any administrators or anything like that. If it's the board and the attorney, then I'll change my vote, but for right now, it's no. And I'll recuse myself.
Okay,
Okay, so this is to go into executive session to have this discussion. I vote yes.
okay, Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
To go into executive session.
Yes.
approved.
I just request that the discussion be limited to privileged legal counsel concerning the yearbook matter. And if any further discussion outside of that is going to happen, then I request that the board goes out into open session to finish the remaining discussion as is already on the agenda.
Okay. Mr. Cost.
I move to extend executive session another 20 minutes. Yep. To 41. I move to extend executive session to 41. I need a second. Second. Collect the vote, please.
Mr. Titwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
approved.
And I got the thumbs up, so we are back. Can you show the agenda because now my print is wrong? Thank you. Okay, so we have another discussion item, which was the Spring Hill High School yearbook. I'm sorry, Dr. Luttrell, do you want to tackle that one?
Yes, I think I just want to again reiterate the fact that I do know for a fact that again, over the past month, we have continued to hear feedback from many different individuals about the manner in which some of the style was written in terms of how different individuals were addressed, with everyone being bunched into one particular group. Like I said, I know that I've heard that, our administrators have heard it, our staff have heard it, our Board of Education has heard it. We respect that. And then, as I said, working with, our staff, our student journalists, as we said, they came in last week and have reviewed the practice. They've heard the voices. And as I said earlier, is that, for moving forward, even though we cannot change, style edits of the past, we can make sure that that moving forward, we respect all individuals. And like I said, the style guide for this coming school year and moving forward is the fact that we will begin making sure that every student is addressed and written in the format style that's aligned with what is within our Skyward portal. And I think that our Board of Education also, wants that. And I think moving forward, that's going to be in the best interest of all individuals.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion on that?
Well, I just want to say thank you for Mr. Cost for coming in there. I don't know if you have anything you wanted to mention, but I know that there are a few people that are wanting to know about maybe a refund or a reprint, and that may be something that we need to discuss to let people know what their options are. And so I think that's something that we can either talk about now or we can have it at the future meeting. But I think that this was a grammatical a grammar error, and in my opinion, and I'm glad that our district is making that the students have made the choice to make the change for the upcoming school year. I know there was a lot of questions that were asked by parents tonight, and I'm not sure that those are all going to be answered in this open session, specifically about, who is ultimately responsible. But I hope that we can move forward and have a better product this coming year.
Anything else anybody wants to cover? Okay, then we are adjourned.